For this class, the props that you will need, I have a light tension resistance loop. You can also use a resistance band that has two handles. It will work, but lighter tension. I have a light to medium dumbbell, so maybe anywhere from 3 to 10 pounds. And if you have a kettlebell, I would recommend using that, like a 5 to 10 pound kettlebell, but I'm gonna use a dumbbell. And then I have a thinly rolled blanket that is just wide enough to cover your pelvis. Tonight we're looking at the Turkish Get-Up from the perspective of the core. So we will move through the Get-Up and we'll do breakout sessions of things that will either target the core or use the core to make that transition more smooth. So to begin, we'll start with our somatic lesson of the practice. So come down onto your back. And take a moment just to adjust, shifting the pelvis, the shoulder blades, so that you feel kind of a sense of feeling even. And then as we start most somatic practices, stretch your legs long. And just start to sense how your body rests on the ground. And you may notice one leg rolls out more or less than the other. You may notice how the shoulder blades sit. But this class focus is spine and core, so we'll target that region a little bit more. So notice your sacral bone, that triangular bone at the base of your spine that sits between both halves of your pelvis. Feel the weight heavy and centered on your pelvis. And then trace it up your spine all the way out through the crown of the head, imagining that your spine and sacrum are on a balance beam. And if you were balanced on a balance beam, do you feel as if you would fall off more to one side than the other? And then shift your awareness to your lower back region and start to sense how close or far away your low back lumbar spine is to the floor. Could you slide your cell phone under your low back, or could you slide a VH tape? Something thicker. If you are younger than VH, you might not know that size, but something maybe 2 to 3 times as thick as your cell phone. And then shift your awareness to the bottom of your rib cage on the front of your body. And you might even touch that region. Do you feel as if your ribs flare up towards the sky? Or do the front of the ribs kind of just settle down towards your belly? And these are the regions that we'll really kind of be targeting today. So find that sense and then maybe check in with the rest of your rib cage. And notice where your nose or your chin are pointing. And if you feel like your nose is pointing straight up towards the sky, great. If instead you feel like your chin is pointing straight up towards the sky, take note of that as well. And later on, when we start to do some work, I'm going to ask you to prop your head up on that rolled blanket. So if I forget and you notice your chin pointing up towards the sky, just go ahead and grab your blanket. Don't wait for me to tell you. Good. And we're going to bend both knees. Stand your feet on the ground, knees towards the sky. And you're going to lift your right knee over your right hip and take your right hand and hang your fingers on your knee. So you're not necessarily pulling the knee in, you're just kind of hanging so that the weight of your arm and hand kind of holds your knee in that position. And the first thing you're going to do is take your tailbone towards the ground. Feel your low back come off the floor. So moving the low back into extension. And then as you exhale, you're going to go the opposite way. So you're going to push your spine into the floor and round your shoulder. The head stays on the ground, but round your left shoulder towards your right knee and pull your right knee kind of towards your left shoulder. And then you'll come out of that and take your tailbone down towards the floor. So as you exhale, left shoulder is rounding towards right knee, and you're kind of pulling your right knee towards your left shoulder. Head stays on the ground. And just continue this exploration of movement on your own. First, bringing awareness to the spine itself, noticing how as you take that diagonal, knee to shoulder, shoulder to knee, the lumbar spine rounds. It flexes and moves towards the floor. And as you take them apart or you let them fall apart, you take the tailbone slightly towards the floor, feeling that extension. So notice first the movement of the spine and exaggerate those two movements. And you can kind of think of having an eyeball on your left shoulder, and it's reaching up and over to gaze at your right knee. And same with the knee. So the eyeballs are gazing at each other. So we started to work on this diagonal last week. So shoulders leading, but then also think of that string that is attached to the bottom of your left side of your rib cage and to your right hip point. And as you come into this flexion and extension, see if you can take it a little deeper, feeling that string get shorter. You could maybe even think of it more like a rubber band. So the rubber band pulls the hip point and the rib together, and then you pull it open. And the head's just rolling on the floor. One more. And then release and take both legs long. And we're just going to go straight into the low back and rib cage area. So sense what you felt when we first started. Was it a cell phone or what is it, a VH tape? And has it changed? And then we'll go back to the second side. So stand both feet on the ground. This time you're going to bend your left knee up, reach across with your right hand, and just allow your knee and your knee to hang in the heaviness of your arm. And then we'll start by taking the tailbone down, so finding extension in your low back. And then move that eyeball on your right shoulder to the eyeball on your left knee. And then pull apart, or let it fall apart. Tailbone goes down in between, and then eyeball to eyeball. Notice what happens to your low back. And just let your head move naturally as you continue this lesson. And we call it a lesson because you are teaching your brain how your body currently moves. And I have this side is so disorganized, I can't even find it on this side. And I get excited when my body feels confused because I know that it's something that I should probably spend time exploring. So I'm trying to create that eyeball to eyeball. So eyeball on the shoulder, head of the shoulder looks at the eyeball on the tip of the knee. And then bring that sense of awareness of the rib cage and the hip point moving towards each other. I really have a hard time flexing my spine when I go this way. I want to move into extension when I take my knee and my elbow towards each other, which is really fascinating to me. And I say that just because you might be feeling similar confusion in your body. But see if you can think spine rounds towards the floor when you take it short, diagonal, and then it extends when you let that diagonal go. Good. Release the foot to the ground and then straighten the legs and check in again. Finally, my low back is actually the muscles of my low back. The spine is still off, but I can actually feel my muscles touch the floor now. If I check in with the bottom of my ribs, I don't feel that flare quite as much. Good. Bend both knees. So we're going to start to move into kind of the Turkish Get-Up. And if you need to look to see what I'm doing, you can sit up and watch. We went over this in the class prior to this, but you might not have those back to back or you weren't here. So if you look at my body right now, all of my limbs are at 0. So my arms are close to my side, my feet are close together. So that's 0 degrees. If I took my arms in line with my shoulder, that's 90 degrees. I can't take my legs out to 90 degrees, but I can envision it. Somewhere halfway between 90 and 0 is 45. So you're going to find 45 degrees in all of your limbs. So both of your arms are 45 degrees away from your hips. Both of your legs are 45 degrees away from your midline. We are going to bend your right knee to 90 degrees. Good. We are going to reach the right hand behind our head with the tip of your elbow pointing straight up towards the sky. So we're going to find that same diagonal. You can think of your eyeball looking at your hip, or that string between the bottom of the right side of your rib cage to your left hip point. And just a couple times, without moving anything but the right side of your rib cage towards your left hip point, pull your right rib cage down and over to the left, where I'm pointing to the hip point, and see if you can find that diagonal that we just created. But remember, when we were doing our lesson of exploration, we included flexion. So to get that flexion, you're going to create the tension first and then start to reach your elbow up toward your sky. We're not rolling onto our left elbow. We're just lifting the right shoulder and rib cage off the floor. So flexion. Good. Go back down. So let the rib cage tug to the left hip point and then reach the elbow up. Find that flexion in the spine to come up, just lifting the right shoulder off the ground. The left shoulder is still on the ground. And then roll back down. Let's do 3 more like that for a total of 5. So rib cage and then round through your spine to lift the right shoulder and rib cage off. Last 2 on your own. See if you can find it a little bit more coordinated so it happens all at one time. Good. Roll back down onto your back and bend both knees. We're going to take our right hand and you're going to grab your weight. You're going to take your right hand And place the weight in your right hand with your wrist directly above your shoulder. Straighten the left leg down. And now we're going to think of lifting the left leg in the diagonal towards your right foot. And back down. Let's do it a couple of times with the knee bent. So as you take the knee across towards the right shoulder, kind of taking it in a diagonal. It won't go far, so that's okay. And then straighten the leg to the ground. We'll do 3 more with the knee bent. And can you think of taking that hip point towards your right rib cage once the knee passes your hip? So the knee and then hip. Good. You're going to keep the kettlebell in your right hand, or the dumbbell in your right hand. Left hand is out 45 degrees away from your body. And you might want to watch this first. I'm going to take my knuckles straight up towards the sky, but I'm going to find that string from my hip point, pulling my rib over to it. And then I'm going to find flexion to roll up onto my elbow. At the top, the eyeball on your right shoulder is looking down at your left thumb. So you stack. All right, so we're going to try that. So right fist goes straight up towards the sky. Find that tug, rib cage to hip point, and then find flexion to round up. At the top, turn your right eyeball on your shoulder to look at your left thumb on the ground. Good. 3 more just like that. Rib, flex, roll up, twist eyeball to thumb. 2 more. Last one. Good. Come down. Draw both knees in towards your chest. And we're going to go through those same few things on the opposite side. So first we find our 45. So find either 90 or 0 and go halfway in between with all 4 limbs. You're going to bend your left knee to 90 degrees. So there's a tendency to go to 45 here. Find 90. Take your left hand behind your head with your elbow pointing straight up towards the sky. First, we find, can we tug our left rib cage down towards our right hip point? And I am remembering my challenge that I like to go into extension in my low back. So I'm trying to push my low back down to find that flexion. And then we're going to roll up, not all the way up onto our elbow, but just lifting the left shoulder off the ground as the right elbow points up, and then back down. So rib to hip point, and then flex through the spine, so round through the spine to lift up. And each time you lift up, we're doing 5 total, you're going to reach your elbow up towards the sky. And I have 2 more to get my 5. Last one. Good. And then we'll roll back down, grab either the kettlebell or the weight in your left hand. Wrist is directly above your shoulder for stability. And then you're going to bend your right knee. And you're going to keep your left arm where it is. And now you're going to try to take your left knee on the diagonal. It won't go far, but as if you could pull it towards your left arm. And once your knee passes your hip, think hip point to rib cage. So we're getting that bottom cross oblique engagement. And we're doing 5 with the knee bent. And then after the 5, straighten the leg and take the leg across the diagonal. I think we actually didn't do that on the other side, so we'll come back to it. So it goes from that 45-degree and then across like you're making a letter, one leg of your letter X over towards your left arm. Good. And now we're going to go into the first move of, not the first move, but we're going to the first core move of our, that's not even true either. We'll just go to elbow press. That's what it's called. So you are going to find that connection of pulling your left side of your rib cage over towards the hip point. Feel that. Move into flexion to stack, and then eyeball on the left shoulder looks at the right thumb, and then roll back down. Find that 4 more times on this side. So rib, flex, fist towards the sky, shoulder looks at the thumb. Good. I think I have 2 more. But I'm trying to stay connected to the lesson at the beginning of class to help find my elbow press. Good. Come down, and just to make sure we're even, bring it right to your right hand. Right knee bent, left arm out to that 45-degree, lift left leg across. So find that diagonal. As the foot crosses the pelvis, use the pelvis, the hip point, pulling towards the right rib cage. That's not good. Last one. Awesome. So we are going to back up a little bit and introduce a movement that we didn't do last week. But this one involves the core. So you're going to bring both knees above your hips, and you're going to take both hands right above your knees to the bottom part of your thighs. You can start by finding flexion, so moving your low back into the floor. Push knees and hands together, and then just gently reach the tailbone towards the bottom edge of your mat, so the low back barely lifts away from the floor. Keep the knees and the hands pressing towards each other, and you're going to try to pretend like you're in a barrel and you're rocking side to side. So everything is moving like they're all in a barrel that's been filled with cement. So your head, your nose stays in line with your sacrum, or not your sacrum, your sternum, your breastbone. And your pelvis rocks with your rib cage at the same time. And this is way harder than it looks. So you're just rocking as far to one side. You're using your obliques to stop, pause. And then you use the obliques to pull you back to the other side, and then stop, and then pull back, and hug the knees in. Awesome. So roll all the way onto your right side. So how this comes into the get-up, and you can use your weight. We'll use our weight for this. So take the weight and place it in your right hand. And your elbows are bent and close to your chest. So if you want to watch first, the first move of the get-up is the roll to press. So when you roll, your whole body should roll as one unit. The leg and arm that you're rolling away from the floor, go to straight into those 45s. So from the other side, so you can see, all of it rolls as one, and you slam those down. So starting on your right side, hold the bell close to your chest. Your shoulder and your hip roll at the same time, roll onto your back as you do. Right knee bends, right fist punches towards the ground. Pull the elbow close to your chest, roll back onto your right side. We're going to do that 4 more times, so a total of 5. So left shoulder and hip roll back at the same time, head rolls, those arms and leg go straight. Right knee and bends up, hand. And then to come back, elbow bends in as you roll shoulder and hip at the same time. Try 3 more on your own. So what you're looking for here is the entire body, like it's in that barrel of concrete. It's all rolling at the same time. Once the hips land, the left leg and arm straighten. Good. Bend the elbow, and then just put the weight down off to the side. So we're going to use our resistance band now. And I'll show you the next move before you come down onto the ground, because this one is complicated to set up if you're not watching. So the leg that's straight, so this will be your left leg and left arm. You're going to wrap the band or handle around the left foot. You're going to lie back, and you're going to take that left hand out to that 45 degree. So we are creating tension on the left side, because one of the things that's very common with the get-up, I'll exaggerate it, is when you lift up under the elbow, people will lift that leg off the ground. So if we are using tension, and we are thinking of pushing the foot and the hand into that tension on the band, that's going to help us create the tension on the left side of our body in order to prop on the elbow. So go ahead and wrap it around the arch of your left foot. And if you have a handle, that's fine. You can hold the handle. And then come down. We're not going to use the weight. We're going to give the weight a break. So left leg is long, and right arm is long. You're going to reach your right fist towards the ground. Right knee is bent to 90 degrees. So start to create tension between the band without lifting your shoulder. So keep your shoulder away from your ear. And then find that line of tension that we've already been working on. So you're going to rib to hip point, flex, push down in the foot as you roll up onto your elbow. An eyeball on your shoulder looks at eyeball on your thumb. Roll back down. We're doing 5 more. So punch fist straight up, roll to press. And notice how as you push your foot down into the band, it helps to keep the leg long and on the ground, but you might also feel like you're using your hip flexor less. The next time you come up, stay up. You're going to push your hand out, but not your forearm. And then you're going to come to prop up onto your hand. So post position. At this position, push your knee out and aim your left shoulder towards your right thumb, or opposite, right shoulder towards your left thumb. Good. In this position, we're just going to work our neck. So turn your nose to your thumb on the ground and then look up at your fist. And think of the nose tracing the line. Good. Bend the elbow back down to the ground and roll, so flexion, down onto your back. Switch sides. So wrap. the band around the arch of the left foot. Find your 45 on the right foot and hand. Left knee is bent to 90 degrees, fist towards the sky. Find that tug between the rib cage and the pelvis first, and then think round spine to come up onto the elbow, push down through the foot, shoulder to thumb, roll back down. We're doing 5 total. Each time you lift up, make sure you aim your chest towards your thumb. This time, stay up. Take the hand out a little bit, but keep the forearm where it is, and post. So come up. Chest is still aiming towards your thumb, so you have that long line from your wrist across both shoulders and up, and then turn your nose to look up and down at each of your thumbs, like you're tracing a line with your nose, not your chin. Good. Stay looking up, lower the elbow to the ground, and then round back to come onto your spine. Release the band and bring both knees in. So the next movement is a hip bridge, and I'll show you what it looks like, and then we're going to break it down. So we are currently in this position. We have this straight line of tension that goes across the shoulders and up. We'll turn the foot out. The foot that's on the ground, that knee is bent at 90, and you're going to think buckle, belt buckle to the sky, and we lift into a glute bridge. We're not going there yet. We're going to break some things down. So the first thing, you might automatically think of it, is just your general hip bridges. So bring your heels in line with your hips, hands on the ground. As you come up, direct this movement by pushing your knees like you wanted to take your knees out over the fronts of your toes. So hands stay on the ground and push. Think of pushing up by pushing your knees out over your toes and then lower back down. So we're doing 10 hip bridges. I already got a hamstring cramp going. So push the knees out over the toes. And each time you lift, think of taking, like if you had a belt buckle on, of taking the belt buckle up towards the sky. Wow. Hello, hamstring. And counting on your own, probably about on 7 or 8. So 2 to 3 more. Really feeling that the knees are directing the hips by pushing out over the toes. Good. Lower the hips to the ground, roll to either side, and press up. This is where we're going to go to the blanket. So you're going to take your blanket and bring it so it's a little bit more than halfway back towards the back end of your mat. When you are coming onto this, it is going to be on your pelvis. The blanket will be right behind the back edge, or not the blanket, your pubic bone will be right behind the edge of the blanket. So it's not going to be on the blanket, but the hip points will be. So as you come down, make sure the pubic bone is off the back edge of the blanket, and having the hip points right on the edge of it helps that. Come up onto your elbows first and start to reach your big toes towards the wall beneath your feet. And just kind of notice what that does to your legs. Good. And then go ahead and lower your head down onto the ground. Bring your hands maybe under the heads of your shoulders or just forward of the heads of the shoulders. It's kind of going to depend on how much extension you have in your upper back. So you can move your hands, but really start to push your pubic bone towards the floor. And notice how that takes some of the deep extension out of your low back. And then you're going to press up into cobra. And if you need to walk your hands further forward, you can. Keep pressing the pubic bone down towards the floor, but then start to stretch your upper chest towards your chin. And just look forward. Pubic bone towards the floor. That's going to help take that dumping out of your low back and move some of that extension up your back. Good. Lower down. Now crawl forward so your pubic bone is on the blanket. Stack your hands, rest your forehead on your hands, and just shift your hips side to side. Keep your forehead stacked on your right hand. Stretch your left arm long beside your ear and your hand reaching far beyond the front of your mat. Find that big toe, both big toes, reaching towards the wall. And then bend your right knee, but keep reaching with your left leg. Lift your head off your hand, reach back, and grab your foot with your right hand. You can grab your ankle or your foot, lift up, and then turn your nose towards your shoulder. Push down through your hand and your foot that remain on the ground. Good, release. Stack both hands and shift your hips side to side. We're going to go for the other side. So left hand stays on the ground with the forehead stacked. Reach your right arm long beside your ears, even crawling the fingers up. Reach through both big toes, like you're trying to stretch them to the wall beneath your feet. Keep doing that with the right foot. Bend your left knee. Lift your head off your hand, reach back with your left hand, grab your foot or your ankle. Then push the ankle into your hand to lift, but keep pressing through your right foot and hand, reaching through your right big toe. Turn your head towards the left, to the left. Good. Release. Stack your hands and shift your hips side to side. Come up, hands and knees. You can move your hips back towards your heels, kind of in a half child's pose, so you're not necessarily dropping your head towards the floor. Trying to round your spine more. So I like to push my hands down and forward to round my back, especially the low back. And then you can move the blanket out of the way. We are done with the blanket. And we're going to come back to the get-up to get that next part. But to learn the get-up, we're going to go through all the parts that we've already gone through without breaking them down. So, start lying on your right side. Elbows bent. We're not doing this weighted. You're going to roll your left shoulder and hip at the same time towards the ground. Once the hips land, left side goes to the ground. right knee and arm are up. Check to make sure that you're in your 45s. I'm going to switch so that you can see. All right, our first move after we roll to press is the elbow prop. So find that connection, rib to hip point, and you're going to roll all the way up onto your elbow as your fist goes towards the sky. Pause. Make sure the chest is looking down at the left hand. And then you're going to come up into that post position. So come up onto your hand. Good. We are going to progress, but first we're going to do it with two hands. So drop your right hand to the ground. Turn your left foot out. Push the outer edge of your left foot into the ground and press all the ball mounts of your big toe, pinky toe, and center of your heel of your right knee, and just lift up and down. Lift up and down. So you feel how the glutes really have to work. The good news is this is a little harder than our actual position. We've done 5, so this time we're going to the actual one. So come back into that post position. Keep your left leg straight, right knee bent. Push through both feet, so outer edge of the long leg, foot of the bent knee, and lift up. Buckle to the sky and down. Buckle to the sky and down. Buckle to the sky. Fist also goes straight up. Last one. Good. Hip down, elbow down, chest faces your thumb, and then round through your spine to roll onto your back. Other side. So roll off to the left side. Elbows close to your chest. You're going to roll your right shoulder and hip at the same time to the floor behind you. And when you come into this position, you'll have left knee bent, left fist towards the sky. Find that tug of the rib cage and come up to your elbow. Chest to thumb. Hand turns out, forearm doesn't. Come to post. And then bring both hands to the ground behind you. Press to the outer edge of your right foot. 4 points of your left foot. Lift up and down. Squeeze, really feel that left knee like you're taking it over your toe. Pressing through the outer edge of the right foot. One more. And then we come into the actual position for the last 5. So chest turns towards the thumb on the ground. Fist of your left hand up towards the sky. Press up for 5. Buckle to the sky. Knee over the left toe. Right leg staying as straight as you can. Pressing into the floor. Good. Last one. Good, and then we come out the way we always do. Elbow, round the spine to come down onto the floor. Good. So we are going to break down the next segment. So the next segment looks like this. And I make it look really simple. But this movement is way more complex than it seems. So we're going to break it down in several segments. The first segment, we're going to use a side plank. And you are going to take your band again. You're going to wrap your band around your left foot and your left elbow. And you want to have it above the elbow because having your elbow on the ground on the band is not going to feel good. If you have handles, just use the handles around the foot and the arm. And then you're going to come down onto your left elbow and straighten your left leg. We're going to bring the right foot behind your right knee to help lift up into side plank. Once you find side plank, you're going to bring your right knee in front of you to your chest and then straighten. Knee to chest, straighten. Knee to chest, straighten. Knee to chest, straighten, down. It's hard. That's hard work. We're going to go straight to the other side and get that hard work done. So, around the arch of your right foot and above your right elbow, come down onto the ground. Heel to hip is one line. Your elbow can be more in line with your toes. Step your left foot behind to help you press up into that plank position. And then once you're there, bring the knee in front and 5 times knee to chest. And we all have our side that this is harder on. This is my harder side. Woo! 4, 5, done. That's the hardest thing we'll probably do. And the reason we're going to do that is because when we get into this position, oh, way harder. Yeah. So we are currently in this post position. We are going to lift up and watch first. We're going to lift up into the hip bridge, and 5 times we're going to go knee to chest. And the reason we're getting this movement is because what people try to do is this, and it's really awkward, right? So if you bring your knee to your chest, then you can flip it down easier. So come into that pulse position. So right knee's bent, right arm's up, left leg turns out, chest is facing your left thumb. Press the outer edge of the left foot down, 4 points of your right foot, lift to hip bridge, aim your chest towards the thumb on the ground, look down at the hand on the ground, pull your knee to your chest, straighten the leg. Pull the knee to the chest, straighten the leg. Knee to chest, straighten the leg. Knee to chest, straighten the leg. Last time, knee under hip. It's okay, we're going to break that down. So, take a break. It's a lot. Is it wrist? It's a lot on the wrist. The more you have that continuous line, the less weight it actually puts on the wrist. There's a tendency to try to work it from here, and that's going to go all wrist. So if you feel your wrist, and it is a lot of pressure on the wrist, don't get me wrong, this isn't going to correct it all, but if there is a lot of pressure on the wrist, see if your shoulder is punching forward, take it back. That's going to make sure that the weight goes over the full expansion of the wrist rather than just coming into one segment. So it spreads the tension across the whole hand. So the next thing, and we'll only do this once, you're going to lift knee to chest, turn down, and just take your knee to the ground. So from post, lift into hip bridge, knee to chest, knee to ground. You're going to keep your hand on the ground. We're going to lift up onto our fingers to build more arm strength. If I was to draw a letter X from the outside of my left knee, that's where my fingertips are. And you're going to windmill, so you're going to take right hand to touch your left hand, and then open back up. Let your nose follow your right thumb the whole time. 3, 4, and 5. Good. Bring the hand back down to the ground. To come out of this, pull your knee to the chest and then straighten it. Bring the hip to the ground, elbow, roll down. Good. Other side. After this, we're getting up, so we're done with all the groundwork. So the hard part's almost over, my friends. Right leg long, right arm to the ground, left knee bent, left arm up towards the sky. Starting in our opening position. Good. All right, use that tug to come up to your elbow. Find the alignment by rolling your chest towards the thumb, and then come up to post. So your hand, thumb, chest to thumb, find that straight line. Turn the knee out, or turn the foot out. Make sure the left knee is bent to 90. One time, lift to hip bridge, chest towards thumb, pull the knee to the chest, and then straighten. Knee to chest, straighten, knee to chest. It's awkward. Knee to chest, plant the knee. Rise up onto your fingertips so it's that letter X. And then you're going to follow your left thumb with your nose. Tap down, tap up, tap down, tap up, tap down, tap up. Last time, come up. Then you're going to reach through your, actually we got to come out of it. Hand to the ground, knee to chest, kick the leg straight, hip, elbow, round down. All right. So I'm going to face this way because we're going to start to take this up. Take your weight and bring it to the front edge of your mat, but off of the mat so it's out of the way. So we are going to start lying on our right side and have your elbows bent. So we're going to roll to press. So your left side of your body rolls all as one. Those leg and arm go to the ground. Right knee and arm are up. Find that cross line to create the tension to bring you up onto your elbow. So roll to elbow press. Chest faces the thumb, fist faces the sky. Come up onto your hand. Chest faces your thumb, fist faces the sky. Find your legs, so find that 90 in your right knee. Outer edge of your foot, lift up, buckle to sky, knee to chest, and then sweep it under. So the knee should plant under your hip so that you can pivot and face the front edge of your mat. So now we're in a position we all know. We're in half kneeling. If you need a blanket underneath your knee, grab a blanket and turn and face me so you can see. And then grab your weight. So we're going to take the weight, and you're going to bring it into your left hand. Start to push your left knee forward as you drag your right hip back, or right heel back. So push the full right foot into the ground, drag it back. And as if you had a pocket in your pants, push the pocket forward, glutes engage. You're going to lift left arm up. You're going to bend it across your chest, twist, and take it off to the outside of your right knee. Bend it, twist forward, punch it up. Bend it, bell in front of shoulder, twist, straighten. Bend it, twist forward, up. Bend it, twist to the right, reach. Good. 2 more. Bend it, straight up. Bend it, twist, reach. Good. Last one. So as you're doing this, you're still pulling the heel, pushing the knee so that the lower body is not moving at all. Just feel the rotation in your rib cage. Bring the weight down. Tuck the back toe under. Start to push your back heel towards the floor so much that your knee lifts, and then come to stand. Good. Pick up your weight again. We're coming into a split stance. So left foot steps back. This time you're going to hold your weight between your hands. If you have a kettlebell, you're going bottoms up by holding the edges of the band. Pull your right heel back, push your left toes forward to help stabilize your pelvis. You're going to rotate ribs first and then pelvis follows to the left. Take it to your chest. Twist to your right. Take it down. Good. Keep pulling the right heel back, pushing the left toes forward. The hips do move, but they move last. We're only going to do 3 so we can get the other side in. Good. Go ahead and put the weight down off to the left side of the front edge of your mat. Step your left foot all the way back. And then lower down, put the weight off to the right side of your mat. And then you're going to take, like your back foot is a little tail, take it off to the right. Take your left hand, like that letter X, down to the ground. Right hand up, knee to chest, kick the leg straight, hip, elbow back, roll onto your left side. All right. Roll to press, so right side of your body rolls down. Yep. Good. Find your 45s. We go left hip to right hip, elbow press. We come up to post, so come onto your hand. Chest towards thumb. Press your left knee out over your left toes. Press through the outer edge of your right foot. Lift your hips, buckle to the sky. Knee to chest, sweep it under your hip. And then you're going to roll to face forward. So now we're in that half kneeling position. Grab your weight in your right hand. Start to pull your left heel back as you push your right hip forward. Feel how that steadies, that stabilizes everything in the lower body. It locks it in. And you're going to press up. Bend the elbow. Twist just your rib cage to the left, and then reach the arm over the left. Bring it back to your shoulder. Twist forward. Press up. And doing 5. So as you're doing this, you want to feel that nothing from your waist down or the top of your pelvis down moves. All of that is being kept locked in steady by the pulling back of the heel and the pushing forward of the knee. Good, we have one more. So the rib cage rolls. It's your oblique. Press it up and then bring the weight down. Tuck right toes under. Push the right heel like you're going to push it into the wall behind you. Feel that to help keep you steady. Push it so much that it lifts the knee to stand up. Then grab your weight again. Come into a split stance, so right foot is slightly behind left. Grab either bottoms up kettlebell or weight between your hands. Pull left heel back, right toes turn forward. You'll let them twist, but after the rib cage twists first. And we're only going 3 to each side. Last one. Good. You can drop the weight off. We got to get down because we got up. So step, same leg back. Left arm up. Find that squeeze to lower yourself down slowly. Pivot the heel to the left. Right hand comes down and forward slightly. Knee to chest, kick through, hip, elbow, roll down. Bend both knees in towards your chest. Straighten your right leg. Take your right hand to the outside of your left knee. Roll on to your right side. You can stay here, or perhaps you bend your right knee, toes pointing up towards the sky. You can lift your head and chest to look at your right foot and grab with your left hand, and then roll back down into a pretzel. Take 3 to 5 long breaths. If you caught your left foot or right foot with your left hand, let it go long. Roll onto your back. Bend both knees in. Rock a little side to side. Straighten the left leg long. Reach across with your left hand to the outside of your right knee and twist to your left. The knee may or may not come onto the ground, that's fine. If you want, bend your left knee, toe points up towards the ground, lift your head and chest, grab your foot or your ankle, and then roll your right back towards the floor behind you as you take your foot towards the floor for a pretzel. Take 3 to 5. Deep breath, which is hard in the pretzel. Let go of the left foot. Roll onto your back. Hug both knees into your chest. Make whatever movements you need to kind of settle out of it. And then we'll do our final check-in with legs long to the ground. Come back to your balance beam that we were on the beginning of class. And notice, do you feel like you would still fall off to one side more than the other? Can you slide even a cell phone under your low back? And where are the ribs sitting? If you touch your ribs, Do they flare up and point towards the ceiling, or do they settle down towards the belly? And this concludes our Get-Up, Turkish Get-Up lesson number 2. Focus on the core. So whenever you're ready, you can come up by bending the knees and rolling to either side. And we're not going to use the Turkish Get-Up. We're just going to press up and come to sit.